Salam aloha, everyone. Welcome back to the live stream. And let me get the comments up to make sure that you can hear me. Okay. And let's see here. We're having a little bit of glitches today. Okay, good. I'm on here. Okay, so if you could put your where you're logging in from and your astrological information, if you want to, in your human design. Okay, so we're all ready here. So I figured it out. Okay, so this live stream is all about the full moon coming up on July 3rd, 2023. So just a reminder, we can't forget about the new moon. Remember the new moon? The new moon is what seeded something in the unconscious of humanity, and that was to transcend the shadow of self-importance, which was too much focus on the ego and not enough focus on opening up your heart, right? So the fear was to live from your heart, which we're all called to do right now. So keep that in mind. And then we've got the illumination of the mind here for the full moon. Okay, so the theme here is the shadow of struggle and the gift of perseverance in the city of honor, right there. Just want to be able to see here. Okay, so that's the 38 there. You can see it on the moon, 38.2. And then it's also, what's another interesting aspect too is that the sun is in the 39. That's the programming partner of the 38, and so is Mercury, right? So Mercury and the sun are together. And remember that we still have this channel of mutation, the 3 and the 60. So this is the 3 is in the north node, right, of the moon. I did a video on that. And then the 60 is in Pluto. So those are connected too. So that's also something to take note of. So remember, why am I on the planet? You got to remember this. I want to remind people, why am I on the planet? We should be asking this question to ourselves daily, on the daily. So we're in Earth school, right? As spiritual beings having human experiences, we're here to learn and evolve. We're here to transcend the plane of duality. That's the world of opposites. Wherever you find one thing, you find the other, right? So you don't fight with the other side, right? You don't fight with the other side, Democrat, Republican, whatever it is, right? The opposites, that you don't fight them. You transcend them. You transcend the world of opposites. This is how you get trapped in the Maya. And also transcending that ego and mind, and that's the not self, that we call that the not self in human design. This is not you. This ego mind is not you. And then integrate unconscious fears, which are shadows. This is our inner shadow work. Live as your higher self, not as a concept, but as a real live thing. And then love yourself and others without conditions. So this is feeling at peace and happiness for no reason on the external. So that's why you're on the planet. So lots of inner work to do. And remember that we're evolving through the emotional body. We're coming into spirit awareness. This is the liberation of the soul for the cross of the sleeping phoenix that comes online in 2027, right? And the thing that's stopping you is this ego, right? That voice inside your head that you believe is you, that attaches something outside the external, and that could be even your mind, your body. It starts right there, your gender, and on and on and on, who you think you are, which is all belief, right? That's the conditioning that we all have to let go of, right? Look, the ego drains your energy, keeps you out of your power. So we've got this Aquarian age consciousness is coming in, and this is the pressure that we're all feeling, right? These ego identities have to collapse, right? They have to collapse. This is what's happening. So it's like we're always letting go. We're letting go, and the ego is not going to go without a fight. Okay, so that's just a reminder. So look at this full moon then, in the shadow of struggle, in the gift of perseverance, and the city of honor. So the exposure of the fear, because each shadow pattern has a fear, right? So you may have this natally or not. If you've got it natally, you're going to feel it doubly so, and then whatever planet it's connected to will be activated in your chart. But otherwise, we're all going to feel this struggle, right? Maybe you're feeling that right now, that like weariness, that weariness of this year, 2023, or even since 2020, or even before that, maybe 2012. Well, the fear here is that it's the ego's fear that the ego will stop existing if you're not struggling in life, right? The ego feeds off conflict. It needs conflict and fear. It's all about separation. It's insecure, and it's got to be struggling, right? That's how the ego gets fed, is through struggle, this struggle. So, where do we go here? So let's go into the shadow pattern here more in depth, right? So a good affirmation to say is, I honor my soul. It's like the gift of honor. And I persevere on my soul's path, and I stop listening to the ego. So we're going to talk about struggle, the difference between struggle and persevere, when we go into this shadow pattern here. So the shadow of struggle. So we've been conditioned from day one in our life to struggle, right? We were trained to struggle, to compete and work so hard and always be doing something and justifying your existence and ticking off the to-do list. That's our conditioning, our training. We've never been taught to be that, right? We're a value if we just by our existence. That right to be, it's always do. So this is the struggle. So here are some things, right? How you know you're in this shadow pattern of struggle. We all can relate to this. You must fight to survive, right? To compete, hustle and hassle. To fight, you always got to be on your game. You got to fight for the ego's projections. So there's the ego inside you, and it's projecting what it wants. So makes false promises. The ego will say, oh, I'm going to tell you how to be peaceful. I'm going to tell you what you need to be happy, right? So the projection could be that perfect relationship, or that perfect job, or that amount of money in my bank account, or a place of living, whatever it is. It's always something next. So then you expend all this energy fighting for the ego's projections that are probably not aligned with your soul, right? Because what the ego is promising on the external is what you need to do. If you really want happiness and peace and contentment and freedom, then you need to go inside. That's where it's long lasting. And you'll find that if you do accomplish something, like, oh, I really worked hard for this degree in university, right? I really worked hard. My parents were so proud of me, and maybe it lasts a couple days, maybe a couple months, and then it's gone, and then there's something else. That's how you know that it's ego. It's not long lasting. It's not fulfilling, right? You're in this shadow pattern of struggle to get it done, and it's all about somewhere in the future, right? Somewhere next. The other symptom of the shadow of struggle is fighting against universal flow, right? Fighting against the universal flow. So here's the difference, right? With perseverance, because you're like, yeah, sometimes I do find I need to fight, especially on the spiritual path. Well, there's a difference between resistance, right? Listen to this. Resistance, which is fighting against the universal flow of energy, and then divine roadblocks. So I'll use me for as example. Sometimes I will have an inspiration or something about a program or a webinar or something, and I'll put it out there for people, if there's any bites, if people are interested in it or not. And it's always very clear. For me, a divine roadblock is nobody signs up. Like nobody nobody's interested. And that's the divine saying, don't go here. Don't go here. You're wasting your energy here. Right? So that would be an example of fighting against the universal flow. Now, I'll go back to we'll go over here to the spiritual warrior in a second, right? So your life force energy depletes because you're unplugged. You're not plugged into your universal eternal self. You're not plugged in. So, of course, something has to pay, right? The prana, the life force energy in your body will have to pay. This is premature aging. This is worry and anxiety. It creates health problems, right? Your life force is depleting because you're trying to motor through this divine roadblock, right? So it's just banging your head against the wall. You're not getting anywhere. This is the shadow of struggle. Or you go completely belly up, right? You go into complacency. I'm not going to even try. Right? I'm not going to try. It's too hard. And we can see this out in the world. Like, this is really encouraged, this complacency, right? We live in a culture, especially in the West, where people are complacent. They're complacent not to follow their soul purpose or their soul or have any kind of meaning in their life, right? Getting distracted by all the many distractions of the Maya. This is the belly up, right? This weakens people. Remember Saturn retrograde? It's the shadow of weak. That's weakness. So the fear is that this ego won't exist because it won't need you, will it? If you're just surrendered to the universal flow of energy, you know when there's a roadblock and you know when you need to persist, right? You don't need that ego anymore. And then it's like it doesn't exist. Listen, I always say to people, like, if you have a narcissist in your life, chances you got one, right? Like like textbook narcissist, because they're going to teach you all about the ego. And the narcissist, the worst thing you can do to a narcissist is to ignore him or her. And that's this ego won't exist. I need attention. I need constant attention, right? So that ego needs constant attention from you. Right? So that's the fear. If I'm not struggling, if I'm not in conflict with others, right? If I'm not striving and working hard and right towards some goal that the ego wants, then it won't exist. So the belief here, right, of this ego that you've bought into, that life is a struggle from cradle to grave. Life is a struggle from cradle to grave. So that's the shadow. So remember, with shadow work for this full moon, so this will be illuminated somewhere in your life, and I'm going to share where to look, where it is you should look to transmute this. So all you have to do is spot it. This is why I love this picture, right? This is you, the I am awareness. I am awareness, and this is you watching, you're observing. This is when you come into the position of who you really are, that you're the witness of your mind and your ego. And this comes through meditation, and this comes through perseverance. Perseverance is getting up every morning and doing your sadhana, right? Perseverance is being vigilant, right? Of not getting trapped into gossip and fear and politics and all that. It's fun to look at. I like it too, right? All of this stuff, but it's to know that it's not you. So you spot the shadow. You're in this position and you spot the shadow, and that's all you have to do is spot it. And then what will come up are some feelings, right? So what grief, maybe like, oh my God, I've been living my life from this ego for years and years, maybe lifetimes and lifetimes, many, right? Can bring up some grief, the grief of being separate from you're never separate from your soul, but the perception of being separate from your soul, that can bring up grief. So that's what you do, is you feel the emotions that are coming up. That's you moving through this emotional body right to the end. So that means anger, fear, grief, and then the expansion comes, and that's this space, the I am awareness space. Okay, the formless. And then you're over here. And this is the gift of perseverance and honor. Remember, this is a fear frequency, this shadow of struggle. Well, it transmutes into perseverance and honor. So this is the spiritual warrior, the 38 and the 39, the programming partner. And this is your fighting for the heart. You're not fighting for the ego anymore and what the ego wants is promising you. You're fighting for your heart, the heart. You're fighting for love instead of fear, to avoid fear. With perseverance and honor, you have integrity. And that's really interesting to me because I'm looking ahead now, and it's the new moon. The new moon, the next moon cycle is in the 18. That's the new moon, and the new moon is the gift of integrity. It's the gift of integrity, the 18. So we're on a theme here, right? So this is when you stand by your values, even if no one can see them, right? Your values. It's not about getting caught up in this, the rest of the world, right? Letting the rest of the world dictate to you what your values are. We can see this. Just because everybody else is doing it doesn't make it right and correct for you. So you have to stay inside to your values. I'm going to stand by my values, even if everybody around me, all my workmates, my partner, my family, my friends, it seems like nobody else is standing by their values. They're just getting swept up with these collective, it's the degradation of values, right? Human values that we're seeing out in the world. I don't care. I'll be a community of one. I'm going to stand by my values. And this is you fighting for your soul, fighting for your heart, right? Knowing what's right. It doesn't come from your head. It comes from your heart. And then here's the perseverance, okay? So fighting against universal flow. This is trying to drive through the divine roadblock where the divine is saying, no, there's no energy here, right, for you. It's not correct for you. Well, perseverance is moving through resistance, moving through any resistance, and this is different, right? Because this resistance strengthens your character, strengthens your soul. It's like you're going to the gym, when you physically work out and you're doing chest press, right, and curls and stuff. Well, this is spiritual. Bench press, right, is when you persevere through that resistance. There's energy there, but I have to persevere through some kind of fear, some kind of mental block inside me. I've got to persevere through that ego that's telling me, screaming at the top of its lungs not to do it, right? Because if this could happen, and it's all fear-based. If that ego is screaming in your ear about this will happen to you and there'll be no support for you and, no money for you. How will you survive? That's the ego's voice. And this is the persevering through resistance, right? This is the gift. And this is honoring your soul purpose. So, the catfish. So the story of the catfish and the cod, right? They were shipping cod from Alaska down to China. And what they noticed was the cod were really soft and mushy. They got really, really weak. So what they did was they put some catfish in there with the codfish. And the catfish is the cod's natural enemy. So the catfish was nipping at the cod the whole trip, right? From Alaska to China. And then they noticed the cod were really, really strong. The fish were really, really strong when they arrived. So this is like us. We need a catfish, right? We need a catfish in our life to strengthen our character, either because we'll fall into complacency, we'll fall into comfort, right? That's the hypnosis, the hypnotic power of the Maya. So yes, we've got this ego in our head that makes sure that we don't get too comfortable, right? And this is a good thing, right? God has put the ego there for a reason. Right? It's to keep us alert and awake. Right? So you want to embrace any catfish in your life. It's like, oh God, here it is again, right? And don't go into struggle. It's like, I've got to persevere through this catfish in my life, whatever the challenge it is, and know that it's strengthening your character. And you have to remember too, with perseverance and honor, is that you have to earn your freedom. Right? Freedom's not given to you. A lot of people, you've probably heard of this, grabbing on to the coattails of the guru to get out, right? Wanting a savior, wanting someone else to do it for you. You're your own savior. You've got to know that, and you've got to earn your freedom. Your freedom is not given to you. It's not given to you. You've got to earn it. And this is what this perseverance gives you, right? So I wanted to say something about that. It'll come back to me. So remember that all enemies are inside you. They're not outside you. And this is the Aquarian age. It's like to go inside and face these enemies, which is just this ego. That's all you have to do is confront it. Confront this ego. You don't fight with the ego, but you see it, right? You see it. I know what I wanted to say, because the greatest challenge right now that we're facing on this planet, because we're going through a consciousness, a huge shift in consciousness on the planet. Not everybody's going to make it, right? So you've got to grab this gift of perseverance, right? I'm going to persevere through this. I really want this freedom in this lifetime. And this, what is the freedom? It's freedom from this ego and mind. And that's where true happiness is, right? That's where true peace and contentment are. But the fight right now, you know what the greatest currency that you have as a spiritual being is? Your attention. Is your attention. Your attention. So this is all fighting for your attention, right? The internet, television, the text, your phone. Your phone's got so many distractions on it. Drama outside of you, right? All this struggle. This is all the shadow of struggle. So that's what's vying for your attention, because that pay attention. Notice those words, pay attention. Your currency is your attention. So you want to keep your attention inside, right? Inside. Keep your attention inside and knowing what your purpose is. Don't forget what your purpose is, right? The attention is to keep you focused on the external and not to go inside. Right? That's the catfish. That's the big catfish on the planet. Is I want your attention on the Maya. Feed the Maya. Feed the Maya. Feed the story. And you're going to say no, right? I'm keeping my attention on the inside, right? That's your currency. So remember too, if you don't challenge yourself, life will challenge you. So this is the way to persevere, right? And number one, to claim this gift is to do your sadhana practice, right, every single day. So also the tarot card that's connected to this full moon, because it's in the second decan, it's 11 degrees. 11 degrees of Capricorn. So that puts it in the second decan, and that's the Three of Pentacles. It also has an Aquarius degree. 11 degrees is Aquarius. So this is saying it's time for work. It's time for work. It's not about kicking back and playing right now, right? This full moon. Remember, it's an illumination. So be aware of distractions and aimless activities. Be aware of distractions and aimless activities. And there's so much distraction now. So much distraction. And also you want to be aligned with grounded spiritual information. Grounded spiritual information. So, what do I want to say about this memories? I think I talked about the arrows. This is part of my recorded reading. And this is a natal chart, so it only has the black side, the personality side. But if you get your chart, you've got a red side too. That's unconscious, and that has arrows. So these arrows are called variables. And so we're evolving from an all left. There's 16 different permutations and combinations of these variables. So we're moving from left. You see that left arrow, right? Some people are all left. They have all left arrows, and we're moving to all right, right? So left is logic, it's strategic, right? It's using your brain, the left side of your brain, right? We're moving from that, our evolution, and moving into all right. And that's the feminine brain. That's receptive. That's being in the moment, the eternal moment. It's about knowingness. It's about intuition, which is knowingness, spontaneous knowingness. I know this without knowing. I don't have to think about something. I don't have to logically do a pros and cons list. This is the old way, and that's dissolving. So this is connected to knowledge, and it's right, collecting facts and figures and then manipulating them in a logical way. Well, that's going away, right? So this means that we can't learn through our minds anymore, right? This evolutionary process. We're not learning through knowledge anymore. So anything that you read in a book, this is the old way, the old educational system. I read this in a book and then I regurgitate it back. I always thought like a parrot could be the perfect student, right? Would be the valedictorian, right? A parrot, right? If they could write the tests and everything, because that's what the perfect student was in this old educational system that's going down. It was about parroting, right? It was about memory, and all this is dissolving. So what does grounded spiritual information means? It means you digest it. You digest it, you take it in, and you have an experience of the spiritual information out on the external world. And then it's yours, and then it turns into a knowingness. Because when the memories start dissolving, people that are so grounded in their mind, right? Their mind is completely untethered from their soul. They're not going to be able to access any knowledge at all. They're going to be very handicapped in a sense, right? So you want to be learning through experience, right? That's the best way to go. And you want to make sure that the spiritual information is grounded, right? Very, very grounded right now. This is what the Three of Pentacles is telling us too. And this full moon. Anything else I wanted to say about that? Yeah, just a warning. So persevere, and you may have noticed this yourself, and it's said in the Aquarian age that the best teachers, and this is the sixth line. This is the sixth line. If you've got a sixth line up here, like say this was your natal chart, 39.6, 38.2, or you had a 0.6 on the red side, this is the sixth line. They're the role models, right? They're the role models for the Aquarian age. And people are not going to listen after 2027. They're not going to listen to leaders who say, do as I say and not as I do, right? They just won't listen to them. They won't be heard. And that's this thing. We're only going to listen to people that have had experience. That's what the sixth line role models teach, because they've been through a three-part learning process, right, where they've been accumulating experiences, right, and wisdom has come from that process, right? So we won't be listening to people who are just book smart, that read a bunch of books, right, that some people wrote in the past, that's not rooted and grounded, right? They just won't listen to them, because there won't be any energy there. They're going to listen to people who've had experiences, because it will be encoded in their aura, right? So this is really important to remember. To really don't be just believing spiritual information. Test it yourself. Take it to the test. I'm going to test this out. That's what I did, right, from day one. Okay, this really resonates as truth as me, but I'm going to test it out in my life. And then with the full moon, Three of Pentacles says to persevere step by step, right? It's a step-by-step progress. This is not overnight success. This is showing up every day, persevering, right? Staying inside, right? Persevering that I'm going to stay inside and I'm going to witness these things. I'm not going to get pulled into this, right? Pulled into ego, pulled into identity. I'm going to stay as I really am. Right there. And then stop creating struggle with others, right? That's that addiction to struggle that the ego wants you fighting with people, it wants you separated from people, right? These three people are working together. We have to come together. We have to work together. And we're not going to be able to do that if everybody's identified with their ego. It just won't work because the ego doesn't want to work together in creating something that's positive, right? It's Aquarius, something in the future. Okay? Okay, maybe I'll go into the readings. I just want to check out everybody here. How everybody's doing. Okay. Great. Tara, Marvelous Marva, K.A., Phantom Similitude. Okay. Galvin, Texas, Tara, Cancer GM. Thomas. Okay. And Sea Moon asks, is putting up a boundary a fight against the flow? How do you know? I'm assuming with a person, right? I'm assuming with a person. You know, boundary setting 101, I think you're talking about that. Here's boundary setting 101. You stay inside. It's really important to stay inside. So what does that mean? Like, what do you mean stay inside? I'm already inside myself. No, most people are not inside themselves. They're in this ego. They're in the ego and they're in the mind. That's not being inside yourself. It's being deep inside yourself. How you feel after you meditate? It's like, I feel really grounded. I'm really present, right? So when you're in back to boundary setting, right, in the flow. So you're in the flow when you're connected to yourself, when you're inside and you know what's going on in your body, right? There's an inner energy field that's you, right? It has nothing to do with the mind or the ego or even your bodily senses. It just has to do with just this energy field inside you, and you stay connected to that. Right? So you resist the pull to go into the mind, into the ego, or into the body senses. And you stay there. And you can hold this space and still hold a conversation with people. And you'll know when someone is overstepping your boundary and when your solar plexus starts to quiver and you start to feel a little bit of anger. Right? That's how I know. There's a bit of anger coming up in me. Right, and that's the correct purpose of anger, is to show you someone's overstepping my boundaries. Then, right, the boundary setting is then you act, and it's an action that's coming from an inspired place, right? So people who pull on energy or overstep boundaries, they want attention. Everybody wants attention, right? Right now. Especially if they're not connected to their spiritual self, they got to get energy because this ego is being neutered, right? They're not going to be able to get energy like they used to. So the ego is not going to go without a fight, right? So everybody's going to be, it's going to be like an energy game. How can I get energy? How can I get energy? And all you have to do is stay connected to your own self, and then you model that for others, right? So it could be repeating themselves. That's what I find with people who will repeat themselves, or they'll go into a victim story over and over and over again, and you just say, you're repeating yourself. I've already heard that, right? And that just stops them in their tracks, right? Because what you're saying, what your soul is saying to their soul is, I'm on to you, right? I'm on to you. You can't play this game with me. And then you just walk away. So remember with the 12, remember the new moon, the 12 was about walls, right? That's the shadow. That's the shadow putting up a wall. So yes, with boundaries, you put up a wall, but you've got a door, right? With the 12 is I'm putting up a wall. Nobody's getting close to me. Nobody's going to get in, right? But the wall is there, but then there's a little door, and you get to decide if you open that door for that person or not, right? So that's the difference. There's a wall, but there's a door. So it's really sea moon is to stay connected inside. And you'll just know. And it becomes really, really subtle. That's why people blow up and they get angry and get livid, and because all this energy is building and they don't know what's going on, and then they lash out at somebody, right? But it's very, very subtle. And it also works the other way, because it will show you if you're overstepping your boundaries, right? You'll feel the same way. Oh, I'm overstepping my boundaries. I'm not in honor right now, right? I'm not in integrity right now with myself. I made this promise to myself and now I'm overstepping it, right? Yeah, but try it. It's all about stay connected inside. Always stay connected inside. Oh yeah. So Thomas, watch your language, right? Because you, the self, the higher self, does never get sick. Your higher self never gets sick. Your higher self is not stressful. That's the ego, right? The ego creates this. This is if you listen to it, right? If you listen to it. Yeah. Okay. So let's do some readings here. And let's see here. Okay, good. I can see now. Okay, so there's Aries. So we're going to talk. So just before I start, the webinar series is bumped. So it's July 8th and the 15th. And it's prosperity in the chart. And it's not just information. It's going to be grounded information, which means it's coming from meditation. There's going to be meditations and exercises and a deep exploration on what prosperity is and what it is for you, right? According to your chart. It's the human design system. Married with astrology. Okay, so let's go for Aries. Aries. And, okay. The great thing about this Capricorn full moon for everybody is that Pluto's in there, right? Pluto's back into Capricorn in the 29th degree. It's been in there since 2008, not 29 degrees, 0 degrees, obviously. But so it's been working in that particular area of your life, and this is the finishing up. This is the polishing, right? So the full moon's going to illuminate something for you that's important for you to address and look at, and where you're struggling, right? Unnecessarily. So of course, for Aries, Sun, Moon, or Rising, it's in the 10th house, right? So let's go to people. So this is your father, right? So or a father figure type in your life, and so there could be struggle there with your father, right? So if you're, and also what I talk about, with my Sleeping Phoenix program is that we have a trinity within us, a father, mother, and divine child, that any issues around money, right, or career, anything like that, you go back to father issues. That's what it's showing you. Oh, there's some unresolved father issues from my childhood, and that's this work, right? That's this emotional work here. And that usually clears things up. So to look at that first and foremost of who you're struggling with, right? So it could be a supervisor or boss, somebody that's an authority figure. Could even be your, it's usually male, right? Male, but it could be even your partner, right? Someone in your life that you put in this position that you're struggling with, and it's all coming from this ego, right? The ego will stop existing if I'm not struggling in my life. So this is about persevering, and maybe you're getting beaten down a little bit. Maybe you've got to work through some resistance around your soul purpose in your career right now. And there's the Pluto. You can see down here, right? Pluto's in the 60. That's limitation. So feeling limited in that area, which is like you're transcending. So what I would say for Aries, it's the step-by-step, right? It's the step-by-step. Persevere with step-by-step this means a lot to me, and this has great meaning and purpose for me. So I'm going to show up every day and persevere. This is Capricorn, the goat, right? And it's very practical. It's very, very practical. And to honor, right? Honor yourself. That clearly there's so much work you've been doing in your 10th house, your public image, that it's time to stop struggling in the wrong way, right? So are you following the projections of the ego in terms of your career and your soul purpose? Or are you following your soul, right? So that's what I would discern, is if I'm struggling, which means I'm going against the universal flow, and maybe I'm listening to this ego. It's all about my parents. Maybe I want my father's approval, and this is why I followed this career, and I'm struggling and I'm depleting myself, right? I'm depleting myself. I'm exhausted. This is a good sign that you are in the shadow of struggle, right? And you're being limited in terms of your career choice, and maybe you're being called to go somewhere else, right? So look at that. Is it a divine roadblock that I'm facing, or is it resistance? Right? Resistance. This is too hard, right? Those kinds of thoughts. This is too hard. I don't want to do this. I want to go back to sleep, right? This is really calling for my whole self to come forward, right? In this lifetime. And I just want to hide. That's when you want to push through, right? This is persevere. And you're facing a catfish in your life, right? You want to persevere through. Yeah. So where are you paying attention? Remember, the currency is attention. Am I paying attention too much on the struggle, too much on that ego? Or am I paying attention to my inner self that's calling me to grow and evolve, right? To earn that freedom. Aries. Yeah. So with Aries, I mean, the archetype of Aries is very impulsive. Anyway, shoot and ask questions later. Type of archetype is to stop and really get clear on who you're following. What voice are you following? The voice of my soul or the voice of my ego? And the voice of the ego is always going to take you to struggle. Yeah. Okay. So let's go to Taurus. Let's go to Taurus. Taurus, the bull. There we go. Let's have this up. Okay. There's Taurus, sun, moon, or rising. And so we've got, there's the full moon. So we've got the full moon in the 9th house for Taurus. The full moon in the shadow of struggle, the gift of... Oh, did I? Okay, I can see here. Okay, there we go. For Taurus, sun, moon, or rising. So in the 9th house. And so this is about your worldview and how you perceive the world, the 9th house. And are you seeing the world through that lens of struggle? So seeing the world through the lens of struggle, seeing the world through that ego, Taurus. And what are you paying attention to, right? Taurus, are you paying attention too much to all this that's going on in the world, all the chaos that's going on in the world? All those things from the Maya. Maya is mind, right? The mind calling you to all of these things and distracting you. These are all the distractions, right? And so whatever you focus on expands, right? It totally expands. So this can really influence you and create struggle. Well, all I see, remember with shadow, when you're in the frequency of shadow, that's all you see. All you see is shadow. And it's like, oh, that's all I see is struggle out in the world. And then you start to believe, right, that life is a struggle from cradle to grave. And Pluto's been in there since 2008, and it's been really excavating all these belief systems, right? The ninth house is belief systems too that you have about the world, that I have to work really, really hard on the wrong things, which is the material, right? The material with Taurus, that I have to work so hard to get grounded, get my foundation grounded on the earth plane, and there's no security on the earth plane. That's what we're seeing right now. This is why there's so much chaos in the world, because it's breaking down. The Maya is breaking down. Your only true security is to go within, right? That's your true security as a Taurus. And then persevere with that, right? Persevere with that. Like what you're seeing, I'm going to persevere not looking so much outward, but I'm going to start persevering and looking inward, right? And create new stories and new beliefs. Yeah. Okay. And not go into fear, remember? This is totally fear. And this is the ego. The ego's fear. It's not your true fear. That ego wants to keep alive inside you. So it's telling you what to see, it's interpreting what you see. See? So you're looking out in the world. This is you, Taurus. And then you've got that ego in your ear that's interpreting everything. So the ego will never tell you the truth that, oh, the world is changing. There's a shift in consciousness that's happening, and I'm just seeing the effects of that. But really, it's coming from this. It's coming from inside each one of us. The ego's not going to tell you that, right? It's going to tell you all the things you should be afraid of, right? All the things that you should be afraid of. What you should believe in this, that the only way you're going to feel secure is if you accumulate money and material things, and then you'll be safe. And those are lies. Your only safety is here within, right? This is what we're learning. It's about turning within. So this full moon will show you, it's going to illuminate where you're stuck, right? Where you're stuck in the shadow frequency of struggle. So you want to persevere, right? Persevere. And you know, with these gifts, you don't have to work for these gifts in a sense, right? You've got to work to get to God, right? This is where your work is, and your effort, Taurus, is to go back here. Your true self. This is to get to God. This is God right here. I am. Then everything comes to you, right? So that's your effort. I know what I wanted to say. So that's your effort, is to get to the I am. But the perseverance, and most especially, is the honor. You don't need to be, oh, I need to be honored. I got to try to be honorable. You don't need to try. The efforting goes to this, right? You're going to your original place. And then honor just automatically comes from the soul, right? That's just the perfume of the soul. So persevere, right? If you're perceiving things out in the world as really negative and hopeless, and I just want to go belly up, right? To question that, like who's speaking to me right now? Is that the voice of my soul, or is that the voice of my ego? And if it's rooted in fear, it's going to be the ego. And it's like, okay, I'm not seeing clearly. Even to say that to yourself, I'm not seeing clearly right now. Right? I need to meditate. I need to take care of myself spiritually. And then what you see will start to change, because the ego can't exist up here in I am, right? It can't exist there. Okay. Anything else for Taurus in the 9th house? For there. Yeah. And it's also digging up any, it's the house of religion too, Taurus. So it's digging out any dogma, conditioned dogma that you may have taken on. Okay. So let's go for, there we go. Let's go for Gemini. Gemini, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Okay. Okay, Gemini. There we go. Gemini, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Let's see here. So you've got the full moon, Gemini, going on in the shadow of struggle, the gift of perseverance, and the city of honor. You've got it going on in the 8th house. In the 8th house. So this is the house of beginnings and endings. So this is an ending. So this is good news for you, Gemini. And you've had Pluto in there working on you on the 8th house since 2008, right? Of transcending the shadow of limitation. So this is deep. This can be like deep wounding and a deep fear, right? Of this struggle. So let's look at this a little bit more closely here. I want to Gemini. I want to show you the shadow of struggle a little bit more, right? So fight to survive. So we're looking at like some deep woundings around survival too, because it's in the 8th house, right? So this is money. This is one of the money houses. So struggling to receive, right? Because it's the house to receive money and material support. So there can be some deep phobias around that, like crisis, trauma from your past lives, and even in this lifetime, right? So you've taken on this belief, right? Maybe I can't count on other people, or people will betray me, Gemini, or manipulate me, right? This is the house of inheritances. You know, you hear about that suddenly. All the family fighting starts around inheritances, right? When someone dies, like all that greebly stuff comes out. This is the shadow. This is the house of the shadow. Is the 8th house. So there's some deep shadow pattern. I would check out too, Gemini, if you have this natally, this 38, right? So this is a deep illumination of this stuff. So how I would work with this, Gemini, is just to allow the emotions to come up, right? So there's deep emotions here, right? This is abandoned by God stuff, like really deep stuff, Gemini, is to just allow it to come up. And this is the emotional body work. So it could be like just tears, or like, well, I don't know where this is coming from, this full moon. You don't need to create a story about it. You just allow it to come up, the emotions, and you feel them right till the end, right? And then you're moving. This is you moving through the emotional body, right? And then you're on the other side. You're in this this I am, right? Your true position as the observer of your mind and ego, right? So that's how I would work with that 38. And to let go of this, and what you're doing here is you're letting go of this struggle, right? That everything is a struggle. And maybe it was in your past lives, but you're in a new lifetime now, you know? That I don't need to struggle to survive. And also, it can be forces beyond your control, right? This is the house of the occult. So there can be a deep belief in evil, and this is just the ego projecting shadow out on the external, and it calls it evil. So it could be a deep letting go of that too, right? There's something out to get me. And maybe you don't even have the words or to articulate that, but it's just this feeling that there's something that the shoe's going to drop, right? There's this fear. It's the fear of the divine. Yeah. In birth and death, right? So it's going to be a death of an ego identity that I talked about, right? With the Aquarian age consciousness, these ego identities have to collapse, That's the pressure that we're feeling, right? And this ego wants to stay alive. Yeah. But that's where I would go, to the emotions. That's your focal point. Pay attention to what's, for this full moon, what's surfacing, right? And give yourself time and space just to feel. And then you'll move through that. You'll move through that shadow quite nicely. But it's persevering, right? And perseverance means not listening to the voice in your head. I'm just going to feel without, I'm not going to create any story. I'm just going to feel it till the end. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's go for the next one. I don't hear from any Geminis. Pipe up when I get to you now. Okay. So let's go for Cancer. There we go. Cancer's here. Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Oh, Cancer. Cancer's got Pluto back in the 7th house. And you've got the full moon in the shadow of struggle and the gift of perseverance and the city of honor in your 7th house. So this is all about your relationships, right? All about your relationships. Transcending feeling limited in your relationships, Cancer, right? Feeling limited by other people. And now letting go of this shadow of struggle, right, with your relationships. So this is an old dynamic for Cancer, is to let go of this belief that your relationships are struggle. They have to have struggle, or they have no meaning. So it's really interesting, you know, when you've got a deep belief, like let's do this shadow pattern here, right? Cancer, if you've got a deep belief that life is a struggle, so just because it's in your, from cradle to grave, so replace that with relationships are a struggle from cradle to grave. And that belief can go so deep within you that you actually create that. You actually can create that, you know? Because we inherit this stuff. You know, we inherit, our first relationship is with our mother, and the second relationship is with our father. So we inherit these belief systems from our childhood, right? So these can be so buried, so deep, and maybe consciously you've done a lot of work, right? But still it keeps happening. And if it keeps happening in your reality, like one struggling relationship after another, well, no, you haven't done the work. You haven't gone really, really deep, right? This is childhood stuff. So this is what's getting illuminated, right? Because you want to change this tape loop that you're in, right? To the tape loop that relationships are a struggle for me. And they're not worthwhile unless they're a struggle for me, right? Yeah. What do I want to say about that? So you want to persevere by not going into the head, right? For this full moon. The full moon will just illuminate. Remember, but the moon is also very emotional. Right? So there's a real opportunity for you right now, for this full moon coming up, Cancer, is to really see from your heart, right? See the relationships from your heart, and then look at how am I responsible for this, right? What's my part in this? Because the victim won't take any responsibility at all. This is honor. Honor is taking responsibility, right, in your life, responsibility for your own consciousness. And maybe the belief is like, well, they're the ones, they're the problem. It's just like, I just have the string of bad luck. I'm perfect, and right, it's all about them. That's what the ego will tell you. Honor is to like, okay, I need to look at this because it keeps showing up, right? It keeps showing up in my field of awareness. There's something to learn here, right? And this is, I really feel deeply that it's got to do with your your family of origin, right? Of this struggle, right? Relationships are a struggle. Instead of relationships are easy. Relationships can be easy. So taking accountability quickly is also to look at subconsciously, like rewind the tape, right, with your relationships. Okay, why are we struggling right now? And then just put a prayer out to your soul, and something will come up, something will be illuminated. Oh, I subconsciously sabotaged that. I can see that now, right? So it's about getting into this position so that you can see that ego and those dynamics to keep you in struggle, because this is the ego, right? And ego won't exist. It's got to be a struggle, got to be a conflict, got to be a fight for the ego to exist. Where was I listening to my ego and not my soul in that relationship? Yeah, and persevere. Don't just settle for a surface answer, because the surface answer is going to be this, the ego. Well, it's all them, us and them. There's no us and them, right? The ego wants us and them, me and you. There's no me and you, not in relationship, right? Yeah. So stop struggling. The other thing that's coming to me too is that maybe a deep spiritual lesson was coming in through a relationship dynamic and you weren't receiving it, right? And this is the struggling against universal flow, which is someone on the external, is the divine is working through someone on the external to get to you, get a message to you, right? So look at all these angles, but persevere. Don't settle for just a surface answer that's going to say it's all their problem and there's nothing wrong with me, right, Cancer? Okay? And then honor the other. That's the other thing I want to say too. Honor the other person. They too are a spiritual being having human experiences just like you. There's a soul, right? They have a soul. Their I am too. Your I am, right? And that's to honor another person, who they truly are. Okay. Yeah, that's it for Cancer that I got here. Okay. So let's go for Leo. Sun, Moon, or Rising. Okay, here we go. Leo. Leo's in the 6th house. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Leo has the full moon in the shadow of struggle, the gift of perseverance, and the city of honor in the 6th house. In the 6th house. So that's struggle in the realm of your work, right? So not your sole purpose in your career, but what you do every single day. Yeah. And also your health too, right? Your health. And your day-to-day routines. So, right, Pluto's been in there, Leo, since 2008, and it's back to finish up some business until January, right, on the 29th degree of your health. So looking at your health, right, your health routines. Probably the way that you work, your approach to work has really, really changed since 2008. But where are you still in the shadow of struggle, Leo? Where are you still in the shadow of struggle? Right? This is I've got right? I have to fight to survive. I've got to hustle, I got to compete, right? Am I fighting for some ego's projections of my work and what my work should be? And am I fighting against the universal flow? Am I being called, right, to work differently? Maybe my routine needs to be changed. My health routine needs to be changed, right? And where is the ego making it harder than it needs to be? That's the shadow of struggle, right? Addictions too, right? That's the shadow of addiction. or the house of addictions. So I think the distractions for you, if we go back to this I am Leo, is not to get distracted by this stuff, right? So look at your schedule, like how you spend your time every day in your work, right? Are you persevering in your work, or are you being, is your attention being dissipated, right? Diffused. Because really with this Three of Pentacles, right, for the full moon tarot, it's about working, but it's about being aware of distractions and aimless activities. So this may be saying that you're creating struggle for yourself by listening to that ego, by getting distracted. Remember, this is your currency, is your attention. So where are you paying your attention in your day-to-day work life and your routines? Where are you getting pulled into addictions too, right? Because we got boredom here too. That could be a 6th house thing. Just that's what I see here, is just to get more disciplined, right? This is a spiritual warrior. So fighting for your good health, like good health habits, right? And having integrity in this area of your life, perseverance and honor. And this will transmute the shadow of struggle if you're feeling like you're struggling with your work. Yeah. Anything else for Leo here with the 6th house? It's also the house of conflict, so keep that in mind too, that there may be an inner conflict within you that has to be transmuted, that's creating this struggle, keeping you in the shadow of struggle. It could be work and play, right? 6th house in the 12th house. So a conflict of the balance between work and play. Leo's a fixed sign too, so Leo can get really fixated on just work, or play, like the extremes. And that could be creating struggle too. But you know what? This time, Leo, is really about attuning yourself to the energy, right? The universal flow of energy, and that means to stay inside. And the universal flow of energy will let you know when it's time to work and when it's time to play, right? This is what you obey, not the mind. Well, I'll work when, especially if you're self-employed, I'll work when it's 5:30, or I'll play when it's 5:30 p.m. or whatever, right? This is, the clock time is going to be going too in the future, right? So this is about you attuning yourself to the universal flow. Yeah. And trusting it, that there's a time, the energy will be there for work and the energy will be there for play. And just about surrendering more. Yeah. But persevering to stay inside and not get so distracted by the external. Okay. Anything else for Leo? Nope. Anything else for Leo? No. Okay. Okay. The other thing I wanted to say about Leo is the service too. It's the house of service. So to get clear on your service, right? So service in this instance doesn't necessarily mean that you don't get paid, like it's seva. This is your service to humanity, right? Are you on the right cause for you, right? Are you on the right cause for you? So sit back in this full moon and take some time and meditate, and just meditate and receive and really open up to guidance from the divine. That's what I want to say for Leo. Okay. So there's Virgo. And Virgo's got the the full moon, the shadow of struggle, the gift of perseverance, and the city of honor in the 5th house. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is about your self-expression. It's about your self-love, right? Your self-love, your sense of self-love. And you want to persevere here, Virgo. So this is persevering. How do I persevere? Well, I don't listen to that ego, which will be very, very critical, right? That keep you away from self-love. It's going to point out all your flaws, right? The flaws of you and the flaws of your romantic partner or your children, right? You don't want to listen to that. You want to persevere. And persevere means to stay in your heart, right? Stay in your heart. And it's also about communicating too from your heart, right? Expressing your authentic self. So it's making that commitment. I'm going to be committed to be myself no matter what. No matter if everybody around me disapproves, they're giving me the stink eye, or they're invalidating my experience, or they're thinking I'm doing everything wrong in life. It's like, no, I'm going to be committed. That's your perseverance. You're going to honor yourself, honor your authenticity, because that's who you are, right? And this is what I'm going to fight for, right? This is what I'm going to fight for. And the fight isn't really a fight. It's just I'm committed to myself. I'm committed to be myself. So that's what I see there is authenticity, your authentic self-expression. That this is what you're going to commit to. Yeah. And then your catfish, right, in your life that's going to strengthen your character, all those people that are going to try to pull you away from that, pull you outside and start to believe their opinions of you and telling you who you are, right? You're going to persevere and stay inside, right? You're going to be that observer and stay inside. I know who I am. I don't need other people to tell me who I am. I know who I am. Yeah, that's what I got for Virgo. So all about this full moon is about really looking at the ways that you're needlessly struggling, right? Trying to prove yourself to other people. That's wasting your energy. That's struggling, right? Trying to prove yourself, prove that you're lovable to other people. No, that's a waste of your energy. You persevere and stay inside, right? And love yourself. And if nobody else loves you in the world, as long as you love yourself, like your true self, your authentic self, not your ego and your mind, then that's you're a winner then, right? You've won the game. Okay, so that's what we got for Virgo. And then let's go for Libra. Libra, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Okay. Libra, Sun, Moon, or Rising. So you've got Libra, Sun, Moon, or Rising has had the 60. has the full moon in the shadow of struggle, the gift of perseverance, in the city of honor. And it's happening in your 4th house, Libra. So this could be your mother, right? Maybe some struggling with your mother, or a mother figure in your life, right? Or going back, because it's your past too, right? It's going back to your upbringing, right? Your early childhood. Maybe there was struggle there, right? So, but you've had that 60, or you've had the Pluto in your 4th house for a while. So you've been really working on your emotional self, Libra, and your connection with your family. Yeah. So this is about not listening to the ego. So Libra, what can happen here is how you can be in this shadow of struggle in the 4th house. Let's bring up this here so you can see the shadow. Is the Well, right here, right? Fighting against the universal flow. So universal flow starts to move, right? And what does it hit? The universal divine energy starts to flow. Well, it hits any stuck emotions locked in your emotional body. This is the 0 to 7-year-old, right? That's our emotional memory. So if something's not completed or it's undigested, you've got to look at like food, we've got to digest it. Just like energy, we've got to digest it. Well, if it doesn't get digested, it doesn't get worked through and resolved, then it stays with you and it stays locked in the emotional body. It crystallizes, that energy crystallizes. And then when you start to evolve and your vibration quickens, it hits against this, right? Because this has to be resolved. So that there can be struggle there, right? Especially if you're resisting it or you don't know what it is, or you don't know what it is. It can be overwhelming for people too. Libra's a air sign, so it could be overwhelming for you. Is to let it just come up, right? Let those emotions come up. And that's getting out of this struggle. So the struggle could be like, oh, I'm struggling to keep down these emotions, right? I don't want to feel them. The ego. Or blaming everybody else for how you're feeling when it has nothing to do with them. They're just triggering them to come up inside you, right? So that can create a struggle when you're fighting against this universal flow. And then this, of course, depletes your life force energy when you're stuffing down all that's very powerful, this emotional energy, because there's a ton of energy behind it, like waiting to come through. Right, all this divine energy waiting to come through, but it's being blocked, right, by these emotions, stuck emotions. So, so this is the ego creating struggle in that part of your life, right? So your mother or a mother figure in your life is going to bring up all this stuff because this is your first teacher. Right? The first teacher is the mother, and the mother teaches us how to nurture ourselves for good or bad, right? Because she's been conditioned to and trained to struggling with emotions. And I mean, all of us, doesn't matter what your sign is, we have to deal with this emotional body, right? The solar flares are all about that. Everything that's happening in the world is triggering because the emotional body is all our childhood memory, but it's also our past life memory. And then we've got our ancestral memory. And like I said, all memory is being dissolved, right, for this new age of Aquarius. So let go of this, my emotional life, my relationship with my mother, or my relationship with any kind of mother figure in my life. It doesn't have to be a struggle, right? It doesn't have to be a struggle. I'm just going to surrender. Libra's going to surrender to what is coming up and surfacing in the moment and not taking responsibility. That's honor. I'm taking responsibility for my own emotional self, right? I'm honoring my own consciousness. I'm responsible for my own consciousness. And that catfish is going to strengthen your character. So the catfish is your mother or mother type figure. Somebody in your home, right, is triggering this for this full moon. Yeah. Anything else for Libra? So bring your focus there. Remember, your currency right now is your attention. Everything out in the world is vying for your attention. This is all ego and mind, the Maya, vying for your attention. You want to keep your attention within. Go within. Yeah. And of course, struggling with emotions, keeping your emotions down can cause stress. It can cause, illness, getting sick, right? A lot. This stuff is rooted to stuck emotional work that you have to do, which is just to feel. Okay? Anything else for Libra? No. Okay. Oh. And Thomas, you're a Libra, right? Thanks, Peaches for Virgo Projector. Yeah, you're Libra rising. I just saw that. Okay. So you know where to go, Thomas. This is your work, is mother stuff. Yeah. And have that resolution with her, right? It's going to be so healing for you. Make that a priority. Yeah. Not everybody gets to say goodbye, right, to a parent, right? And just to have her and you and your soul, both your souls be clean, right? Clean energy. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. Okay. So where are we now? We're for Scorpio. Okay, Scorpio. So Scorpio, Sun, Moon, or Rising is in the third house. Okay, so Scorpio, Sun, Moon, or Rising, you've got the full moon in the shadow of struggle, the gift of perseverance, and the city of honor in your third house. So this is all about your communication, and this is all about the walnut in your head, right? How you're thinking. So look at your thoughts, Scorpio, right? With this full moon's going to show you it's going to illuminate thinking. You know, the Sun and Mercury are both in the shadow of provocation, but it's also the city of liberation, right? So beaming down at your mind, the moon, to bring up to expose, right? Expose this shadow of struggle and how you're creating it with your mind. So remember, we create with our thoughts. Our thoughts have a lot of power, right? They have a lot of power. So, so look at where you're paying attention. Okay, where am I paying attention? Am I paying attention to this, or am I up here, just not paying attention to any of it, right? Or I'm choosing where I focus my energy. But you want to focus within and focus with your thoughts, Scorpio. What are you thinking about? That's your work for this full moon. What am I thinking about? What are my thoughts? I'm not going to let go in automatic and start channeling this ego. What's that ego telling me about struggle, right? And then I'm communicating. I'm a channeler for the ego, right? I'm just channeling what he's telling me in my head about struggle, and then I'm creating struggle in my life. I would also look at your siblings, right? Look at your siblings in the shadow of struggle. Do you have a struggling relationship with your sibling? Are you always fighting with them, right? There never seems to be a peace or a flow with my sibling. To look at that too, right? Where that ego is taking over. Because remember, the ego wants separation, doesn't want you and your sibling joining, right? And being in that frequency of love, like being in the universal flow. So you want to be the spiritual warrior, Scorpio, right? You want to fight for your heart. You want to make sure that you're in integrity. So in integrity, too, is where the thoughts in your mind are aligned with who you are, right? So this is the neti. This isn't me. That's a meditational practice. This isn't me. These thoughts are not mine. They're not aligned with who I really am, right? I'm not going to listen to it. Because that ego can turn on you, too, right? Can turn on other people, but it will also turn on you. So that's what I would really look at your thinking and your communication, what's coming out of my mouth. Look at your siblings, yeah, and just your environment, just the people that you see every day. So that will be illuminated, right? And Pluto's been in your third house, so it's been, since 2008. So it's been working on your communication. Right? How you communicate to other people. But also asking yourself, right? You have a thought. Where's that thought coming from? Is it true? Is that thought true or not? Right? Have a little filter. Imagine a little filter for a while till you stop listening to this ego, right? Have a little filter. I'm not gonna just blurt that out. I don't know if that's true or not. That's going unconscious, and it creates struggle in your relationships. right? And there's that ego with this shadow wants to create struggle. Say this, right? Say this about your sister. What happened in grade 5, right? When she dyed her hair and she had to cut it all off because she burned all her hair, or whatever it is, right? There's the ego telling you to say that. You got no filter, it comes out of your mouth, and then it creates all this struggle with your sibling. I can't believe you're talking about that. That's such a horrible thing. You're insensitive, right? Whatever the scenario is, that's what it's telling me is to create this separation, right, between you, the eternal soul, and then your mind and your ego, so you can witness, right? Witness these thoughts. Yeah. Okay. And be aware, that's why I went there. So be aware of any distractions and aimless activities that are just junk food for your mind. You know? Taking in this information that has nothing to do with anything. It's just distracting. It's like junk food for the mind, right? It's aimless. Just to watch that. The full moon will show you where you're wasting your time, because this is about getting you asleep. The ego wants you asleep just listening to it. Okay. Anything else for Scorpio in the 3rd house? No, that's it for Scorpio. Let's go for Sagittarius. Sun, Moon, and Rising. So this is the shadow of struggle, the gift of perseverance in the city of honor, and it's in your 2nd house. So that's money. So struggling around finances. You could be experiencing that, right? Struggle a bit around your sense of self-value. And the great thing is that Pluto's been in your 2nd house, Sagittarius, for since 2008. So it's been working on this. You've been working on this. Right? Your sense of self-value and how that's connected to your finances, and right? And your experience of prosperity and abundance and what that means for you and how you earn a living. So maybe you're going through some struggles. The full moon's going to show you where you struggle in that area of your life. You always seem to be struggling. So if we Sagittarius, if we go to the shadow, remember that we've been conditioned, especially in 2nd house matters, right? About earning money and surviving on the material realm. We've been conditioned, we've been trained that we have to compete and we have to struggle and work has to be hard. It can't be fun or easy, right? That you've got to fight to survive. You've got to fight other people to survive. And this is, you could be with this shadow of struggle, you could be fighting for the ego's projections, and this is wasting your energy. So the ego will say, the ego is all strategic, right? Which is not the way. Being strategic is not the way now, right? As 2027 comes closer, we're moving away from strategy and logic, and we're moving more into the feminine way, which is to be in the moment and to receive and let things come to us. So an ego projection could be strategic ego projection. Well, this worked 10 years ago. You know, you fill out your CV and this is what you do, right? And this is what you do. And then you'll feel secure, because this is about feeling materially secure, right? The 2nd house. But really, it's about feeling secure. And the material realm is not going to give you that. This is breaking down. The Maya is breaking down right now. So you're not going to get the security that the ego is promising, right? It's promising you security if you do this, 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 and this. And it's all about struggle, right? It's all about struggle. So where you want to go is you want to make the effort. You want to persevere and go into your spiritual self. That's where your true security lies, right? With the 2nd house. And to break out of this pattern for this full moon is that, no, life doesn't have to be a struggle. Earning money does not have to be a struggle, right? So it's persevering to remember that I have value, right? Sagittarius, I have value as a human being. I don't have to do to prove my worth, my sense of worth and value. That's the shadow that we've been trained to believe. That I have value just by the sole reason I exist, right? I have value. It's about your value. Once you value yourself, then you'll find that the flow of money comes a lot easier, right? So it's also to not compromise your values when you're honoring yourself. You have integrity. I'm going to stand by my values. I'm not going to listen to that sneaky ego telling me to do all these tricks, right, to earn money. I'm going to stand by my values, even if no one can see. Even if the ego tells me I'll be living in a cardboard box out in the street, well, tell the ego, well, I'm going to live in a cardboard box out in the street, but at least I'll be free. I'll be free of the ego, right? So you want to stand by your values, and you want to persevere, right, through this resistance. And the resistance here, the second house, is the ego, right? And this is your catfish, the money. The money's your catfish. And this is about strengthening your character. This is your teacher, your challenge. Yeah. And that you got to earn your freedom, which is to persevere, right? Persevere. Be the spiritual warrior. Fight for what's right and true, not what the world is telling us, right? This is all the degradation of values that we're seeing out in the world. You know what's as a Sagittarius especially, you know what's right and true, right? Inside. Your conscience will let you know, but not the ego won't. It wants shortcuts, right? It wants to, manipulate. You don't want to be listening to this voice. You want to listen to the voice of your soul and to trust and relax. Okay. And just to remember that it's making you stronger, right? That catfish is making you stronger with money. Okay. So anything else for Sagittarius? Well, I'm excited for Sagittarius for that, okay? So let's do Capricorn. Let me make sure So Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising. So Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising, you've got the full moon in the shadow of struggle, perseverance, and honor. Of course, in your first house is a Capricorn. So Pluto moved back into your first house to do some polishing up, because it's been in there since 2008, working on yourself and how your identity, basically, right? How do you present in the world? Well, there's the shadow of struggle, right? And the gift of perseverance and the city of honor. So this belief that you have to struggle, just even to show, this is you, the embodiment of struggle, because it's your first house, right? So you've taken this on hook, line, and sinker, this full moon. This is potential, right? Maybe not in all areas of your life, but it's your first house, so it's how you appear to other people, right? That you've got to fight to survive. I've got to compete. I got to hustle and hassle. I can't relax and just let things come to me and have trust and faith, right? I'm always ambitious, right? That's a Capricorn word. I'm ambitious. I'm fighting for the ego's projections. So the ego is promising me peace and contentment and security and happiness, right? And then it's got me fighting for its projections, right? So the ego is saying, well, you need to do this and this and this, and then I'm chasing after a projection of the ego. And it never gives me happiness. It never gives me contentment. Never gives me peace, because that's not where that is, right? Your peace is here when you're the observer, right? That's your eternal self. So so this is like a total identity. It's like letting go of, the identity of struggle. I have an ego identity that says I have to struggle. I have to struggle in life to get anything worthwhile. I have to struggle. I've got to fight for. I've got to exhaust myself. This is you just letting that pillar go, right? For this full moon. Because this is the ego the fear is that ego won't exist, and of course it won't. It will dissolve, but it's an illusion anyway, these ego identities, you know? So you want to turn from being the embodiment of the shadow to be the embodiment of the gifts of perseverance and honor. So this is fighting for the right things, right? Fighting for your heart, having integrity, standing by your values, right? Having honor, right? That honor. Honoring others, but honoring yourself first. Like honoring yourself as a spiritual being having human experiences. You're not this workaholic slave, right? With the 38, right? You're a noble spiritual being walking on the planet, right? So this is you fighting with this ego, and remember, you can't fight with the ego. All your currency is with your attention. So you're going to see, right? You're going to see the ego. You have to spot it. That's all you have to do is like, oh, I see it in action here. It's feeding me these lies about struggle and competing and working so hard, right? Maybe I caught my ego judging other people that I perceive as lazy. That's also the way to spot that ego. I spotted, I saw it. And what will come is emotions. There'll be emotions that come, right? Every ego identity is fueled by emotions. So those emotions will come. You're going to feel them, Capricorn, and then you're going to walk through to the other end. And that's the expansion, right? That's when you get into the position of the I am, like more and more. Yeah. And challenging yourself, right? If you don't challenge yourself, life will challenge you. So this is a different kind of challenge, right? This is the spiritual warrior. So you want to be the embodiment of the spiritual warrior there. Anything else for Capricorn? And be that, and this is how you teach people too, Capricorn, when you're the embodiment of honor, like I honor myself and I carry myself in that way. Just my posture and my countenance, right? You teach other people to honor you the way you treat yourself is what I want to say. Yeah. So your resistance is going to be this identity. You're going to push through it, which is just to see it. All you got to do is see it in action. It's this easy. And then we'll start to dissolve. But it doesn't come without some emotions to feel. Okay? So that's Capricorn. Oh, great. Okay, Sea Moon says she's Cap, Sun, Cap, Rising. She's got double Capricorn there. Lots of self-work lately. Who I am. Yes. Yes. And what I would add is to drop even who you think you are. Just drop it all, right? And let this you're the Phoenix, right? Sea Moon with the 38 and Pluto in your first house, and then this shadow of struggle there and perseverance. Persevere to be your true self, which is to let go of everything that ego has told you are. Let go of everything your family told you are. Your educational system told you who you are. Everything, just drop it, right? This is you. Like, let that building, that Aquarian consciousness just like pound through, right? And then we'll dissolve all these identities. And then you're the phoenix coming from the flames, right? Okay. Let's go for Aquarius. So Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising. And this is the full moon in the shadow of struggle and the gift of perseverance in the city of getting tired. And the city of honor is in the 12th house. So this is a complete, right, for Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising. This is you coming to the end, right? The 12th house is like, I've been around the whole circle now, right? This is the end of the zodiac for you in your chart. And so it's beginning. It's like even more than beginnings. This is ending. This is like not just a new chapter. It's like the book is closed and the new book is being written, right? So this is letting go of the shadow of struggle in your 12th house. So this is past lives. This is ancestors, right? The ancestors that have struggled. Our ancestors had to struggle for sure to stay alive, right? You're a testament of that because you exist, Aquarius, right? Struggle with the elements, right? Struggle through war and famine and all that stuff just to survive. And so this is deep, deep within you. This is really difficult to access, right? You just have to trust that it's moving, that energy is moving. But that moon is going to come in there, right? The moon's going to illuminate the 12th house for you so you can see, oh, this is how this shadow of struggle has been really driving me, right? In the 12th house. How I've been approaching my life in this way, right? That it's just a struggle. It's a struggle. And so you've got to watch too, because it's the 12th house of isolation and addictions, right? So you may be compensating, right? This is all going on the unconscious level, that you can be compensating for this pain, right? This pain of struggle by like, I'm just going to escape, right? The 12th house is about escape. That's why addictions are there. I'm just going to indulge in addictions. I'm going to isolate. I'm going to avoid. I'm going to go belly up. I'm going to just go into complacency, Aquarius, right? Escape from all of this. So you have to watch that. You've got to persevere, right? So what I would look at, Aquarius, is service, right? Whenever, because the shadow wants you. This is the house of isolation. The shadow in general wants us isolated. It wants us alone. It wants us in the darkness. And the darkness is in the ignorance of the ego, right? Listening to the ego is that you go to the other side, right? And that's service. How can I help? How can I help people, Aquarius? And this will help you to move out of the shadow of struggle, right? So watch your energy. That's what I would say with the 12th house. It's like, what's my life force energy like these days? Do I feel depleted? Do I want to be sleeping all the time? Do I not want to deal with people? I don't even want to deal with friends and family. I'm just like hiding out. Well, you're in this shadow, right? And this is not, the ego is promising you, well, you won't be met with struggle, right? If you just isolate. But in truth, you will be in the shadow of struggle because you're struggling against yourself, like your true self, right? So the struggle here is, am I listening to the ego giving me bad advice, or am I listening to the voice of my soul, right? The voice of my soul. And as soon as you do this, as soon as you reach out, like go to the other side to serve, like how can I help somebody that I know in my life wants help? As soon as you join, right, join with another person, then this turns into the gifts of perseverance and honor, and things will be lifted, right, from you. So that's what I feel like you're being called to do, is and to persevere, which may be persevering just to get out of the house. That's your perseverance for that day. I'm just going to make myself get out of the house, right? I'm going to make myself join that friend that's been calling me and I've been putting them off. I'm going to go out for coffee, or I'll go for a walk, Yeah. So that could be moving through the resistance. The resistance wants you to be isolated from others and really isolated from yourself, right? Because that's who you're really isolating. I know it sounds silly. Well, I'm alone in my house. How am I isolated from myself? Well, you can be, especially if you're focused on all this stuff out in the external world, all the distractions, right? Yeah. So persevere to stay inside yourself, but to go and move out of isolation. That's what I would say for Aquarius. Anything else for there? Yeah. And yeah, don't listen to the ego that says you're safe if you isolate from others. Or you can avoid yourself by isolating from others. You can't avoid yourself because wherever you go, there you are. Okay. And then let's go for the last one, which is Pisces. Pisces, sun, moon, or rising. So the full moon in the shadow of struggle and the gift of perseverance in the city of honor is in your 11th house, right? For Pisces. So this is, you've had Pluto in there since 2008 working on your friendships, right? Your friendships, who you've been spending time with. So there can be, this shadow of struggle can show up in your friendships, right? In your friendships. So let's look a little bit deeper for you. The shadow of struggle. Remember, this is conditioning and training, right? To struggle. So the ego could be showing up in your friendships, right? So the fear here with the shadow of struggle is the ego won't exist. That's the fear. The ego won't exist with the shadow of struggle. So the ego comes up in your friendship, right? And it creates struggle so it can exert itself, right? So there always needs to be a problem within your friendship, right? Always maybe critical, listening to this ego. Well, that my friend is flawed in this way, right? I'm criticizing my friend because she did this, her behavior and her choices, right? Just listening to that ego about your friend, which is just a projection. It's often just a projection of you onto another person. That's how it works, right? And then you've got the friend doing the same thing to you, right? Well, you don't know. You just need to focus on yourself, really, right? So this can create this shadow of struggle in your friendship. Right? It's a shadow of struggle. And all it is separation. It's separating you from your friend. And you're not perceiving. When you're in the ego and listening to your ego, you can't trust anything that comes out of that head, out of that voice, right? In your head, the ego. And also, just because it can fight for the ego's projections, maybe your ego in terms of your friendship has an idea of how your friend should be behaving. What my friend should be doing with their life, right? My friend is not taking my advice. I think my friend should be doing this instead. This is the projections of the ego, right? So what I tell people is like, we do not have any idea someone else's destiny path. Even if we have the best intentions, right? Something can be really work for us, right? Like look at my channel, for example, right? So the Neutrino Astrology and working with shadow patterns and working with the emotional body, working to unveil this ego, right? Well, maybe that works for you, but you tell your friend about it and they're, nah, I'm not really into him, right? I'm not, but I really like someone else, right? That you're not into at all, right? Well, that would be like an example of thinking you know someone else's destiny path, right? There's many paths up the mountain. So just to look at that, Pisces, right? Are you seeing your friends in truth, right? Are you seeing your friends in truth? So what I would do to move out of this shadow of struggle, right? And of course, friends are coming and going for you anyway, right? In that 11th house. But you want to go into perseverance, which is to stay in your heart with your friend. That's what brought you together, is this heart connection that you have with your friends. So that's what you fight for, right? So it could be like, I don't agree with everything you're doing. You could say to your friend, right? I don't agree with this. What you're doing is not my thing, right? And my thing is really good and for me. And your thing's really good for you. And we've got differences, but we're going to come together and a heart connection. We're gonna have that tolerance for one another as friends, right? That yes, we may have different interests. It's not. I know what it is. It's like pay attention. Don't pay attention to the differences, your differences. Pay attention to your similarities. And we're all the same because we're all this I am, every human on the planet, right? So this is about staying in your heart connection with your friendship. That's what I see there. And then you'll move into this perseverance and honor. And the honor is to honor your friend as a spiritual being having human experience, a spiritual being that's connected to her or his own source, right? A friend that's also connected to their own intuition, and that's guiding them in their life, right? So that's honoring your friend, yeah. And to move out of this struggle, because the ego wants us building up walls with one another. The ego does not want us building bridges, right? So look at what's going on with your friends, and the full moon is going to illuminate something, right, in your life. And then on the flip side, you may be getting projected upon in the way that I described, right? And the projection may be onto you. And if that tolerance isn't there, and you fought and you did your part, and maybe the divine is like, right, putting a divine roadblock up that this person is leaving. But it will be for you to discern. Yeah. Okay, so that's what I got there for everybody. And let me see here. So just a reminder about the prosperity in your chart. I'm going to write something, a clearer explanation of this, but it's going to be experience. It's not just going to be ungrounded spiritual knowledge that I talked about, and that's the shadow, right? The shadow pattern. Okay, so everybody have a great day or evening, and I hope that you enjoyed this, and happy full moon for July 3rd, and I guess it's the holiday weekend, right? For both Canada and the USA, right? And take this within, not just information, right? Like really test it. That's what I do with spiritual information. It just doesn't stay up here undigested in the head. I take it deeply within, and then I experiment out of my life, right? And if it works, it's like, great, that's awesome. Or no, that didn't really pan out but this really worked. That's what you want to keep, right? This is what you're accumulating now, because you want to rely on your experience, your direct experience, rather than, especially spiritually, rather than the mind and book knowledge, because that will be disappearing. Our memory will disappear of all that stuff. That's why the all right people, I'm 3 parts right, remember I talked about variables at the beginning, will be the resource, and the 6 lines profiles will be the resource for people, because we're very receptive, right? We'll be like Google, right? Google, embodiment of Google, uncensored Google. Okay, so I'll see you next video, and take care. Okay, Satnam Aloha, everybody. Bye-bye.